This video shows you how to get real-time backup of your completed documents into SharePoint. We'll be using Microsoft Power Automate, and it's quite a simple three-step process. You could easily extend this to, for example, delete legally signed records if you need to meet some data retention requirements, or to send more notification emails for your internal use. Let's look at our existing example. There's only three elements required: a trigger to get notified of a signed document in Legalesign, a webhook from Power Automate, a REST API call to download the PDF from Legalesign API, and a action to save that file to SharePoint. So we're just going to set it up from scratch to show you how it works. The first trigger is the webhook. So we look for a request, and there it is. That needs to be used by anyone because it's coming from Legalesign. We're going to get our URL after this flow has been saved. Quick check of the settings. Then we're going to add in our request to download the PDF. So I'm going to search for HTTP. There it is. That's a REST API call, which we'll put into Legalesign API. This requires us to enter an endpoint, so we'll enter the API download endpoint. It won't be complete because we're missing the PDF ID, but we'll put in something to get started so we can save the flow and generate that webhook. So I'm just going to give it a meaningful name. And then I'm going to save it. Saving it generates that webhook that we really need. So there it is. What we're going to do is go back to Legalesign, pop it in the webhooks using the @1 console here, the older console. So I'm going to create all real-time events for a particular group for the document final PDF created. So whenever that PDF is signed in that group, it's going to trigger the webhook. All right, let's see if it works. What I'm going to do is I had a document I sent earlier. Just going to go and see if we can sign it. And the idea is this will trigger the webhook, trigger the flow, and then we can see what happens with that flow. Just go ahead and sign it off screen. So hopefully, all being well, the webhook would have been triggered, and we'll see a result. There it is. So the webhook's run. Of course, it's failed because we haven't completed the flow yet, but we get that data. And see, this has failed because we've got no ID for the PDF. So, but we're going to get it from this webhook data. So let's go back and edit it now. I've saved that data, and the key bit here is use a sample payload. This is a clever bit from Microsoft Power Automate where it converts that now into a schema, as you can see, and with that schema we can now refer to it in other parts of the flow. So now we go back to our HTTP call, we can refer to dynamic content, which we now get from that schema, and as you can see we can go down the webhook data and get out that ID that we really need. So I've queried out for that ID and entered it in the webhook. So now we've got the right endpoint to get the PDF. Just going to nip back, grab the API key that we need to make the call, and pop it in the authorization header for the API request from Power Automate. So I'm going to copy and paste it in there. And check the settings. I'm going to turn off asynchronous because we really want this PDF right now in order to send it over to SharePoint. I'm going to check the code view. You can see data UUID. That's the right one to get the ID that we need. All right. So now our webhook and our request to get the PDF is working. We'll add the final element, saving it to SharePoint. So we'll look for SharePoint actions. Look for all. Check in file. No, it is create file. Upload a file to SharePoint. That's the one we need. So here, click on that. You can see that it asks us to get a SharePoint from our system and a folder. So that's for you to select. What we need now we can do here is make a file name. So it's just going to use the webhook data, get the file name, and then so it's not a so we can have unique file names. It's going to add the created time onto the end of the file name, so to make sure all the file names are unique. And the key bit, the file content, that's simply the body of the API request, as you can see there. So now we save that into file content, we've given it a name, and then we'll also give it a location and a folder path, save it, and that should be it. So now what we can do is, having set it up, we can go back and we can rerun that previous webhook to make sure that it works. Might give that flow the meaningful name. There's our run history. Go back and we can simply resubmit it. This takes the same data and reruns the flow. And as you can see, it's now gone straight through successfully. Got the data. You can see now that UID is now in the PDF query. So now it gets the right document, and that's downloaded it. And you can see the file name is given is taking the name and then the Unix epoch date onto the end to give it some uniqueness. And so I saved it into a folder. So that's it. What we've done is get a notification of a signed document in Legalesign. We've downloaded it from the Legalesign API, and then we've simply saved it into Sharepoint. Thanks for watching.